Hello world, Dan Brown here with another episode of POGOBAT. I want to start today by just thanking everyone who has stayed with me throughout 2018. Everyone who's still watching right there at this point. I am entirely shameless about tooling and then retooling yet again what I'm doing on YouTube, my approach to this medium. And, for those of you who are still with me, you've put up with a lot this year, and I just want to make sure you know that it is tremendously appreciated. The last year has been more about myself and figuring out for my own sake how to reintegrate content creation into my life. And so if you've hung out through all the whiplash, it means the world to me, and I don't want that to get lost in the content that I'm creating. This is a picture of a younger, more invincible version of myself with an epic, a little bit scraggly. It's a very scraggly beard, if I do say so myself, about 10 years later. This was in 2010, but around about 2009, 2010, I started sharing a whole lot about my own life. Then I went through some life changes, and I found myself feeling just overexposed and with trust issues about what I share with my audience. Not even trust with you guys, but trust in myself to know what feels right and what is not right to share with an audience. And I became one of the first content creators to experience something that there's now a term for. There wasn't a term for it back in the day, but they call it creator burnout. It's such a common, it makes sense. If you're young and have never really experienced failure and, you are succeeding on YouTube and you have this audience that's just blowing wind into your sails, making your ego bigger and bigger and bigger, then it's very exciting to crank out more and more and more and more content. And before you realize it, you're chipping away at kind of the fundamentals of life and existence, of adulting, if you will. And before you know it, the foundation has been kicked out from under you, and you are burnt out, and you leave, and no one really understands what happened. But I do. I have experienced that, and since 2010, 2011, I have poked YouTube intermittently. Pretty consistently rather, but not with any amount of consistency in a short time window, right? I've always wanted to start broadcasting again. There's always been this, YouTube logo circa 2010 sized hole in my heart and my soul since then. And in 2018, I have ramped up that sort of poking with no small degree of intention. I really am getting I've been serious this year about figuring out how to actually jump back into content creation. The first attempt was a reboot of Dan Brown's Universe. Then I free associated some video blogs on a separate channel, seeing if starting a new channel would maybe help out or help me find my bearings. And it kind of did. Then I did POGOBAT Gaming, some Magic the Gathering content. Then I went back to POGOBAT here with this basic format in the run-up to the 2018 midterm elections. 2018's content, I already said this, it's clearly been more about me, more for me than for you if you look just a little bit under the surface, right? There's been very little consistency. I'm just trying to, again, figure out a way to reintroduce content creation into my life. And, in that whiplash, it's not without consequences. I am hemorrhaging subscribers right now. Every week I'm losing over 100 subscribers, and it continues to plummet, and it will. That's just to be expected. A lot of these subscribers subscribed to me literally a decade ago when I was, not nearly as informed. I didn't understand my own political outlook as well as I do now. And now that I'm just saying, "Brah, bring out the guillotine. Let's eat the rich." There are some radical centrists and even right-wingers who were probably subscribing. And even some people who might agree with me politically who just aren't here for that. That's not what YouTube is for in their lives. And that's totally fine. But it all goes to say that, I have just been trying to figure out how to fill this hole in my heart, in my life, and the numbers don't matter. Well, nothing really matters other than my ability to work through this and find something sustainable and ultimately scalable, like all of the content I've made in 2018 up until this point. Even as I have been making it, I've been fully aware that it has been a proxy for some TBD, to be determined, sustainable content creation, right? I've been retooling both my approach to content and my life generally each in service of the other, right? And I'm getting closer to the right balance with each iteration of that feedback loop. But it does take time, genuinely. It takes months and months. I mean, it has taken a year of really hard, dedicated, emotional, and like literal work on my part. And you start anything like this by starting. You know, you just have to jump in feet first. You have to leap before you look. And, you know, it's not always going to be pretty. Like, I don't think that Dan Brown's Universe is going to win any awards. But it did get me going through the motions of content creation. It did force myself to block out the right amount of time every week to create some kind of content. And even if that content wasn't like stellar at first, even if it hasn't been to the point where I ultimately want to take it, it's been necessary to just start by starting, figure out what it feels like to live a life where I have enough time blocked out to make content. And so this format that we're on right now, it has been useful for shouting from the rooftops about how important voting is in the 2018 midterms. But, you know, now that we're a few months removed from that electoral urgency, I have started to feel, I know that one of the values I stated like a month ago was that you repeat yourself, repeat yourself, repeat yourself. And I do believe that's important. But as I have continued to repeat myself in, you know, this frame here, I'm feeling more and more like a dismembered head a little bit, like a talking, like your experience of me is not a full portrait of me and my beliefs and the life I'm trying to live and what I'm trying to document here. You know, your experience of me is as, you know, someone who welcomes you into his dining room once or twice a week to tell you what he thinks. And, you know, like I said in my Nanette video, kind of the first, the opening shot, the opening of my new volley of 2018, fall of 2018 content. You know, I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to avoid being another like opinionated, privileged white guy on YouTube. Haha! So the next phase of retooling to try to mitigate my feeling in the sense that maybe you get of me being just some dismembered talking head random 20-something liberal person, it involves freeing myself from this chair, freeing myself from this room and from this frame, not just welcoming you into my dining room to be talked at with my opinions. And so the first step in that has been Slow Cooker Saturday. It's been a tremendous success so far. It's with my partner every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to get this chair. I need this chair back. I don't want to be on my knees for the rest of this. Okay, all right. Well, where are we saying? Slow Cooker Saturday. You know, we're focusing on self-care. We have as much time as we ever do before our next major opportunity to gain ground as a leftist movement, that is to say the 2020 elections. And at this time, it makes sense for us as leftists to be focusing on self-care. And so I'm building out a live streaming presence where we fill 2 slow cookers with delicious food. We've been doing it for 2 weeks now. We're going to do it again this weekend. This is going to be the last time we do it for 2018, but we will boot it back up again in 2019. It's a live stream with my partner Tracy and my cat and my dog. And this week we're going to be making some Indian-inspired cuisine, some Saag Aloo. That's an Indian spinach and potato curry. That's a vegetarian dish. And then our meat dish is going to be coconut curry chicken. There are links to those recipes in the description if you want to cook along with us. No one has taken us up on that offer just yet, but my dream is that at some point the bats who watch Slow Cooker Saturday will you know, take out their phones and they'll have already bought the ingredients for the recipe because I'll have posted it earlier, and then they'll have those ingredients and they'll get their own slow cooker and we'll all be cooking together and chatting. It'll just be this beautiful sort of community self-care kumbaya sort of group hug sort of feel good sort of thing. But anyway, that's kind of an intermediary step, but I'm excited to announce right now that, you know, a bigger piece of what we're doing going into 2019 coming right up is this. I'm going back to my roots of like old school daily vlog style video making, not entirely abandoning like the setup I have down in front of my desktop computer with the Blue Snowball microphone that's a little bit more polished. We'll still tap into that sometimes. Sometimes it'll still be useful. But right now I'm in my, this is my eBay store / Tracy's art studio. These are my items for the day. This is a Bloomin' Onion Maker. This is a Guitar Hero World Tour bundle. This is a V-Smile system for children. It's like a video game system for young kids. And this here is a plug-and-play Ms. Pac-Man video game thing. I got to a point where, the format's sitting in front of my desktop computer downstairs with the condenser mic. I need to come up with a shorter name for that, by the way. The old format has started feeling just a little bit contrived. Like at first, when I hadn't been making videos for a while, I had a lot on my chest. There was a lot to say in the immediate run-up to the midterm elections. And I think that sitting in front of a computer screen really did kind of work to get that top layer off of my chest. What I want to do is just document my journey as an ordinary person who is left-minded and knows that I can do and wants to do more politically, and kind of document that journey as a case study, as an example, not as prescriptive to all of you, but just as someone that you can follow while you maybe do things in parallel. It's still going to be the same POGOBAT in its soul, right? Rather than trying to create, rather than assuming that I'm kind of creating and maintaining a community from the top down, I would rather build my life out in a way where I can plug into a larger movement. I want to create something wholesome that's more true to the medium of YouTube, of video blogging, where it feels like we're just hanging out. I'm just some person that even though you don't really know me, and we are growing into our leftist awareness together and trying to convert that feeling in our guts into action. This right here is all my eBay and TCG player orders for the day, about $120 gross, that's a good day for me this early on in this process, although I do need to figure out a better system for actually hauling these boxes into the post office. Right now I just kind of awkwardly carry it all, and I hope to reach a volume where that becomes not possible and I have to get a little what do you call it, radio flyer. I have to apologize, I just watched the clips that I recorded in the car and I realized my lens is so dirty. Okay, that should help. The only thing that really matters, more than your career, more than anything, is making sure that we survive climate change, because none of that means jack squat if we're dead by 2050. I quit my job and I tried to maintain an open mind and figure out a way to pay rent and pay my bills that also affords me the freedom to get more involved with YouTube, and by way of YouTube get more involved in leftist politics. And we've begun that journey. I'm about a month in here. I'm going to try to. Ooh, I don't know if I should touch this actual camera lens. The eBay subsistence, the online reselling subsistence I have figured out, I think I have a theory, should plug in pretty well to a leftist political ideology. And that's something that, I haven't found myself with enough time in POGOBAT in the format as it has been to really go into in the way that, I have a lot of thoughts about this and about politics, and it just all gets kind of lost in the fray when I'm trying to actually write and put together a slideshow and then film and then edit. I have to figure out a way to make these that plugs into my life a little bit more naturally, and I think as a byproduct of that, they're going to come across as less contrived and more fun to watch anyway. Now, it's just a process. It's an iterative process, and I really appreciate you guys for sticking around through all of my figuring out of what I'm doing with this over the course of 2018. Really, you guys are, it tickles me because you must really like me, because this has been kind of a selfish, iterative process. I've been doing this more for myself and my own sanity than for anyone else's entertainment value, but I think it's going to start to pay off, and I'm really excited about where we're going. And next week, you're going to get a full episode with this format. Dan Brown out!